50s mantis men! The foam rubber suits! Give them orange eyeballs, fangs, and hooks that come down like this. There's a chapter called The Offing, and The Offing is describing something the 10th man originally unearthed about 4 years ago. And that was to say, beyond the conventions that are hijacked for Earth curve mathematics, that's the distance to the offing, identical mathematics that have been hijacked and used to suggest that we've got a distance to geometric horizon. I remember hearing it, 1.22 times the square root of the observer's. What? You're like, hang on. Distance to the offing is just the distance to the horizon calculation below the surface level still. They haven't changed much when they hijacked it. But in 10th Man's books, a bit like when we, 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, Martin and I, Mapper Monday visit, looked at what was on the map versus what's on the maps now. And most of us will have been taught in our history classes the evolution of the known territories and us expanding into them by way of flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements to the stars to track their movements, plot them so that we could know with time where they would be above at given points so that we could utilise that information to find our way at sea and, more importantly, find our way back when we navigated out towards new territories. Now, in modern vernacular, we will use anybody from these newly discovered worlds that comes home where we are now, if we are the traveller in this example. They would be described as aliens to where we belong, if we call where we are home. So with that vernacular in mind, and given that the only known new worlds that have been discovered are documented throughout history, with the expansion of the known worlds, the known territories on the maps as they expand and show more and more new worlds. And on those new worlds, there's often indigenous people that you would inevitably, if you hadn't seen them before, be discovering, that is to say, finding for the first time. That doesn't mean that they weren't in existence. It just means that you weren't aware of them as you discovered these, let's call them aliens, in the new worlds found utilising horizontal principles to travel out beyond the offing, beyond the horizon, into the new and uncharted territories. That's how we found the new lands. That's how we found people on them, and in some instances, new animals, and even new people, aliens. So it's not a stretch to imagine that that expansion would have continued, but for the fact that we were enclosed on a ball by way of Roman Catholic heliocentric rhetoric that evolved over the past 500 years in real terms. Prior to that, all we did was navigate the surface with horizontal directionality, that's azimuth, utilising compasses for north, south, east and west, and elevation angles, angles with respect to the surface level, to the stars so we could navigate our positional information with respect to the tracked data in the almanac. So with all of those things in tow, we know, nothing I've said is contentious, we found new worlds beyond the horizon. Fast forward to the modern times where we are alleged to find new worlds in the sky? Soil in the sky, you say? Well, munch it down, because that's your worldview. If you're a heliocentrist, you believe the lights in the sky are soil. Now, I don't believe that. Soil's below me. The sky, that's air, that's above me. That's what I experience. To suggest that, there's more there's more soil to find in the sky is absurd. It, to me, it's so ludicrous to even contemplate this now, because having looked in depth with the help of people like 10th Man into how we expanded the known territories, what the terminology was in the process of navigating the known territories flat, and how much of that information has been hijacked and applied to heliocentric, sphere Earth worldviews that you can't stand on when you convert them to the actual navigation systems that we utilise. At best, you can be inside a globe Earth if you're going to utilise anything in navigational terms, and the practically applied demonstration for any normie would be the coordinate system, We're talking about elevation angle measurements to provide the system in the first instance. Plotting it with respect to a map that's wrapped around you if you want it to be heliocentric and globe-based would require equatorial planes inside a ball that's a glorified protractor to describe that heliocentric globe-Earth world view with. Because the application of the navigation systems that's allowed us to expand the territories, and now term the people we found there aliens, was flat then, is flat now, and can only be flat because it's applied to the ground that we measure. Flat in all instances.
I put a picture of the aliens they released in Master B. One is called Mantis, one is called Gray, one is called Reptilian, and one that looks like a human is called Nordic. So, strange, right?
So we've got the Greys, like the Greys that we've always seen. We've got the Scandinavians, the tall people from up north, of course. We've got the ETs, and we've got the psychopaths. Fantastic. What these have been conjured into existence with is stereotypes and archetypes, right? Where can we pull stories of aliens from? Well, let's start with the Nordic. What, like the stories of going up towards the Hyperborean up north where the North Star is. Maybe Mount Meru. What a some new feast of nonsense. No, there's nothing new under the sun. Right, they can only recycle. Reptilians, what, like people who are devoid of empathy, as in based on the pineal gland when studying psychopathy for the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual.
It's easy for you to say you got the promotion.
Those sorts of reptilians, like the reptilian mind. So that's an archetype, isn't it? Right? A stereotype would be the Greys, like the little ET aliens. So we've got the people beyond the area that we experience, generally speaking, but in the case of the Nordics, it's the North, right? The Scandinavians. In the case of the Greys, it's the stereotypical alien that you would envisage when you go to Hollywood and someone puts a rubber mask on.
Large, reptilian.
When it comes to the narcissistic endeavours of the people who actually control us, they're not aliens, they're narcissists. Cream rises to the top. That's why they're all monsters in politics. That's how it works. That doesn't make them aliens. What was the fourth one? Got Greys, we've got the narcissists, we've got the Nordics. What was the other one?
Mantis is the...
Mantis?
It's like a bug insect.
This is hilarious. What, like the insect men? What, like from the 50s alien movies? When you get a guy in a foam rubber suit that looks a bit like a cross between a praying mantis and a grasshopper? Those aliens? Yeah, narcissistic recycling. They don't have any new ideas. So they've just pulled from, well, what do people call aliens? Well, some people suggest that the people who rise to the top and control the world in Western terminology, that's narcissists, by the way, that's psychopaths, right? People who are devoid of empathy, to boil it down to brass tacks. That's why they rise to the top. We'll call those the, what did you call those again?
The reptilians,
Reptilians.
Right?
Large, reptilian.
Right, which is derived from the reptilian cortex, right? When studying, I've already covered that, DSM. What is it now? DSM-5. You got the foam rubber suit mantis men, you got the ETs, and you got the guys from up north, the really tall dudes. Do you like my use of up north? Epic. Yeah. Epic bullshit.
Interesting that they're coming out with it now, though. Like in the 50s and 60s, even in the 70s, you were a nutter if you talked about aliens. Now the government releases, here's what they look like.
No, they don't. This is all garbage, right? All they can do is recycle based on old stories, right? People who are trying to keep charge don't come up with new inventions, new technology, even new stories, right? All of the stories about the time dimensions that I talked about when referencing entropy with the arrow of time to answer Neil's question. What was I talking about? Right, the Avengers, what would like Thor, the god of thunder, and Odin, and Loki, they don't know how to invent new stuff. They just recycle old stuff. That's all they do. Because there is nothing new under the sun. So to have it plausible and cross-referenceable, they just take the bullshit stories that stuck from the 70s. People like the idea of greys, what with the ET aliens. Okay, well, that could be one of them. People tell stories, from this very community, tell stories of the Nordics, the very tall blonde. That's what they're like in like Norway and Sweden and stuff. I've been there. They're all very tall, right? They saw a picture of my wife. I just started seeing her when I was a rep, so dealing with electronics, going out to various different countries all over the world, not just Europe. But in this instance, I'm in Europe. It's very cold, and I'm dealing with these very, very, very tall people. Now, I am not short. I'm like 6'2", right? But probably the shortest man there at the time. Everybody above me towers over me. Everybody's blonde, and every woman is blonde and beautiful. Now, when I bring out my wallet and I've got a picture of my now wife, at the time girlfriend in there, and she's a brunette, all the men huddle around. I'm like, what's the big deal? They're like, well, because everyone around them's blonde. So therefore, a brunette. It was explained to me in the most literal of terms. I'm explaining it to you, as the guy at the bar with me is explaining when we're, sitting around, not actually dealing with equipment, relaxing. He's explaining, everyone around here would kill to have your woman. Why? Because she's brunette. No one around here is brunette. They're all blonde. You're like, yeah, it's great. I like blondes. So you're looking at all these tall 5'8" to 6 foot tall blondes going, nice. And they're all obsessed with your woman because she's a brunette. Well, that's what it's like up in those Scandinavian countries. But they've turned that into the stories of travelling to the Hyperborean where we have giants. You could imagine somebody who's dead short, little pygmy, and they would seem like giants. When I used to go to the Far East, Japan or China or whatever, I was considered a giant at 6'2". Like they'd go, "Oh, you giant." No, I'm not. I'm just a bit taller than average. Not a giant. Now imagine somebody at that end of the scale going up to, I don't know, Norway, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's the land of the giants." Like, what preposterous crock of shit. I love it though. It amuses me greatly. What can they do to get people to buy into this shite? I just take every avenue of every alien that's ever had a prevalent story told about it and say, yeah, that's legit.
Well, they say they pulled them out of a crashed alien crafts. And the funny thing is, my brother came around with this a couple of weeks ago. He said, "Neil, what are you doing? I thought you'd be on your program now. The government released these tapes, and you always say space is fake. Look, they got pictures of the aliens now."
I mean, if aliens, then second law of thermodynamics violating 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum with soil in it? No, that's an affirming the consequent fallacy. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. If we have a heliocentric sky vacuum, then we will experience greys, otherwise known as ET. I keep forgetting what they call them. Reptilians, psychopaths, the people from Northern Europe, and, mantis men. Therefore, sky vacuum, obviously. That's a logical fallacy. But very, very amusing.
Yeah, I said outer space is fake. The way we've been taught is fake. But, unique containment. We just don't have that in heliocentrism.
It always breaks down to the most basic of stuff when you sort of step back from it and go, "Oh, it's just measured flat, who cares?" In this specific instance, soil in the sky. We were talking about it on Friday, right? Taking me up to the soil in the sky. No, it's not. There's no soil in the sky. There's gases. We're breathing them, right? I mean, strictly speaking, I'm on the first floor. I'm in the sky, right? What's around me? Well, lots of air that I'm breathing. That's it. There's no soil. You get to a certain height and you can even measure and survey maximum altitude of the soil. I mean, you only get that by measuring a flat with respect to a horizontal plane of reference and described from sea level. You can describe a perpendicular elevation of anything that's been surveyed on God's green earth. But you'll do that flat. But at a certain point, that's it. There's no more soil. There's just air above that point. What? The soil's the little lights? They're lights. Can you not see that they're lights? You say they're soil. Yeah, and psychopaths come from there. And mantis men. The Mantis Men's got to be my favourite, because where's the Mantis Men thing come from? It's come from 1950s foam rubber men. That's where that's come from. To offer some plausible acceptance from the public, they need to have something that's already in place, that's planted the seed in your mind when they say it's true. And in this instance, they need a bit more than just, well, we can't just say it's people who've got no empathy. We can't just say it's Northern Europeans. And if we just say it's ET, people will be like, so it's just like the ones in the movie? Like, we need more. We had one more. Which one? 50s Mantis Men. The foam rubber suits. Give them orange eyeballs, fangs, and hooks that come down like this. Perfect. And then, when someone says you don't like the ET version of our bullshit story, take Northern Europeans.